Stephen A., we saw all 16 playoff teams in action over the last 48 hours.
Yeah.
What to you was the most important thing you saw, your number one takeaway?
Well, to me, it was the Dallas Mavericks beating the Los Angeles Clippers. I mean, I'm wondering when everybody's going to put the Clippers on notice. The fact of the matter is that Doc Rivers is gone. Ty Lue is there as your coach. Kawhi Leonard was supposed to be the king, the new king in Los Angeles. They bowed out after giving up a 3-1 lead to the Denver Nuggets in the Western Conference semifinals last year. And in the first round, even though they won in 6 games, Luka Doncic was giving it to them, but Porzingis went down after game 3 when he dropped 34, even though they lost that particular game. Well, now we fast forward to this game, and once again, here comes Luka Doncic, dropping triple doubles with an over 30-point performance. Now let's look at that for a second here, Greeny. Kawhi Leonard is supposed to be a superstar, one of the top 5 players in the world. Him and Paul George are stars. Right. Why do we call them stars? It's not just because they can average better than 25 a game anytime they want to. It's because, unlike most others, they're defensive stoppers as well. Well, we saw Jamal Murray give them 40 in a game 7 after they gave up that 3-1 lead. We saw Luka Doncic having his way with them, and now they start off these playoffs with Luka Doncic having his way. What the hell is anybody going to do about that? I want to know. Luka is putting everybody on notice. So we got to pay attention to that.
You know, I was trying to I can't get my computer working here to get the stats, but he put up another 30-point triple-double is historic for a player at his age. So let's just live in his world for just a second here. What should stop someone from saying right now, if you're making a list of the 3 best players in the world, Luka Doncic should be on it? Well,
I mean, there's not really anything other than he's a defensive liability at times. He doesn't really play on both ends of the floor the way that you would like.
He's that good, right? He's that good.
He's that good offensively. We're not going to accuse him of being that defensively. That's number one. Number 2, you got to take others into consideration. Kevin Durant is somebody that we might want to notice. I mean, after all, he was out for 18 months, comes back, and in the games he played this season, averaged nearly 27. His first playoff game, he drops 32. Okay, we can't ignore him. We can't ignore LeBron James because that's just one game. We know what LeBron James can bring to the table. Anthony Davis got to show up. Anthony Davis is one of the top 5 players in the world when healthy. How the hell do you get outplayed so thoroughly by DeAndre Ayton? DeAndre Ayton is playing his first playoff game. He looked bigger, he looked stronger, and he looked like he wanted it more. And I said to everyone before this series began, Anthony Davis can't be shooting jump shots and fallaways. He has to be a man amongst boys in the post. And DeAndre Ayton is saying, excuse me, that can't happen because I'm a man. And that's what he said in game 1. How Anthony Davis responds in game 2 may very well tell us or decide this series.
I had our mutual friend Kendrick Perkins on earlier saying exactly that. Anthony Davis needs to go in the paint. He needs to assert himself.
Yes.
Right now, our analytics favors Phoenix in that series. Vegas favors the Lakers. Which side are you on?
Well, I mean, listen, I picked the Lakers to win the series in 7 games, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if Phoenix won because they're younger, they're spry. They have a superstar in Devin Booker. His first playoff game, he was the best player on the court. It wasn't LeBron. It wasn't Anthony Davis. It's Devin Booker. And so when you look at it from that perspective, along with the leadership of CP3, and you look at the coaching of Monty Williams, what is going to usurp Phoenix in any way is LeBron and AD. It really just comes down to that. And if DeAndre Ayton neutralizes Anthony Davis in any way or negates what he's doing because he's matching what Anthony Davis brings to the table, Phoenix is going to win the series. So in order for the Lakers to win the series, Anthony Davis has to be dominant. It's not, you can't have DeAndre or Ayton offsetting you. You can't be equal to his production. No, you have to exceed his level of production significantly in this series in order for the Lakers to win it.
Stephen A. Smith here. Let's go to last night. You and I were
greatest players of all time. Here's what I will say to you. I already have LeBron past Kobe. Because there's an all-around. I think LeBron is the greatest small forward in the history of basketball, and he brings such a multitude of dimensions to the equation. The fact that, you know what, even though he's got 1 ring less than Kobe, considering what we've seen LeBron do, I've got LeBron number 2 all time. I will say this, though. When we talk about him compared to Michael Jordan, there is such a thing called an assassin's mentality. I can take those first 8 years of LeBron James' career, those first 7, 8 years, and that's what I would use to hold against him in terms of the all-time GOAT. Because what he has ultimately developed, it took him all of that time to do, whereas MJ came into the league with that mentality. He just didn't have the personnel to go along with him, with Scottie Pippen catching migraines in Game 7 of an Eastern Conference Finals and stuff like that. You see what I'm saying? So I can't look at LeBron and a performance against the Dallas Mavericks. I can't look at LeBron and 6 NBA Finals losses on his resume and say, excuse me, I'm just going to ignore all of that and give him GOAT status, greatest of all time, over Michael Jordan. And that blasphemy you just uttered out of that mouth with those goggle spiano glasses that you're wearing, I can't believe that you can't see the hideous nature of your words. I'm going to give you a chance to correct yourself right now, Chuck. Right now.
I'm going to correct myself. If LeBron James is able to beat the Phoenix Suns, I don't even know who they play, whoever they play in the second round, beat the Utah Jazz or the Clippers, get to the finals, and if he's able to beat the Brooklyn Nets, first of all, I got Milwaukee winning the East. But if he's able to win the championship this year, I think we got to have a serious conversation. We really do.
Hold on. Now, Greeny, I would like to remind you, and don't just bring up your cup and sit back and kick up your fly shoes, Greeny. Listen to what he's saying here. So we got a Phoenix Suns team that's got my coach of the year, that's got an MVP candidate in Chris Paul, no doubt. Devin Booker's a star, but they're a relatively young team that Chuck has already conceded, can be beat by these Lakers because it's an easier matchup for the Lakers than Utah. We got that going on. We look at the Utah Jazz. As formidable as they are, as exceptionally well coached as they are, they just got bounced out in the first round last year. They've got something to prove, so they're relatively young. We look at, Mr. Load Management himself and Kawhi Leonard and the Los Angeles Clippers, who've never even made it to a conference finals in franchise history. We look at the Dallas Mavericks. Kristaps Porzingis can't stay healthy. A feather touches him, and he's on the injured list. We've got Denver that no longer has Jamal Murray. You've got Portland that's a relatively guard-oriented team. They've got talent, but we all know that some things missing. Don't get me started with Nurkic's defense, even though he's formidable offensively. And we got Steph Curry without Klay Thompson. That's the West that you're talking about, okay? And then the Eastern Conference, Kyrie, James Harden, and Kevin Durant have played 8 games together. We know how formidable they are offensively, but defensively, they put you to shame, Charles Barkley. They ain't think about playing no damn defense. And you're trying to tell me that if LeBron gets through all of that, that puts him above Michael Jordan? Are you nuts?
I didn't say put him above. I said we need to have a serious conversation about
what we got to talk for? What we got to talk for?
Hey, he's got to, listen, he's going through a gauntlet. They're going to play all those series on the road. They're going to play every series on the road.
Really? Oh, you mean on the road with 50% capacity in the audience? You mean that? You mean that road environment?
Hey, listen, and let me say this. If LeBron is able to beat, like I say, I'm picking Milwaukee in the East. I want to make that clear. But if LeBron is able to beat KD, James Harden, and Kyrie, that would be impressive, Stephen A. That would be impressive.
It would be impressive. I'll give that to you. But again, it's not going to elevate him to GOAT status. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying.
I did not. Hey, listen, first of all, I said we need to rethink and have a serious conversation about that.
Can I ask you this question, Greeny? Let me step in. I'm sorry to be mediator here, but I got to ask Chuck this because I can't let him get away with this. Chuck, I've religiously brought this up with Isaiah, with you, with MJ and others, Magic too. When are we going to remind ourselves of the appreciation we need to have about the level of competition guys like yourself had to go against compared to today's game? It's soft as putty. You've religiously pointed out how soft the game is called. You can get called for a foul for having bad breath, for crying out loud. Lord knows how many games Dennis Rodman would have fouled out of with today's rules, with the antics that he engaged in. The level of softness in today's game compared to how y'all played. I'm not talking about the players. I'm talking about how the game is called. How do we ignore that?
Well, first of all, I think, listen, you can only knock the people down who are in front of you. Listen, I'm telling you this. If he's able to beat the Suns on the road, that would be a big, I mean, obviously the Lakers are going to be favored, but I don't think they're going to beat Utah, and I don't know if they're going to beat the Clippers. And let me tell you something. If they can beat the Brooklyn Nets, that would be impressive. They got probably the 3 best one-on-one players in the game to date. Those 3 guys, they are the 3 best one-on-one players in the world probably. And if they're able to beat those guys, you got to give them guys their credit, especially that at LeBron's age, AD's, you talk about can't stay healthy. What about AD? I mean, so LeBron, if he's able to win the championship, listen, I'm not going to put anybody above Michael Jordan.
Okay.
But I tell you what, I can see how people would do it is my point, Stephen A.
Let me hold this thought a minute here, guys. And let me just very quickly say, LeBron's path, he may wind up having to beat on his way to a championship Steph Curry, Chris Paul, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant. That's 7 players who will wind up in the Hall of Fame. That would be a pretty good run if he winds up doing it. Let me hold that thought a minute. We'll take a quick break.